hairy and scary. He's known by many names around the world. Almas, Day, the Wild Man. He's not as famous as Bigfoot or the Yeti, but he may be something they're not. A living, breathing Neanderthal. Is it possible that Paleolithic people still walk this planet? Some Almas seekers are trekking to the ends of the earth in search of an Almas hide or even a hair.
Have you got an Almas skin here?
Many eyewitnesses are convinced that the Almas lives.
He lowered like this, very fast, and disappeared.
I can't say that I felt any animosity from him.
If it's not found soon, it could die out.
But top anthropologists are skeptical.
I don't think people are going to find a walking, living, breathing Neanderthal.
If Neanderthals were still alive, we would find skeletal evidence of it. A lot.
Only DNA analysis can reveal whether some evidence is real or rubbish. We examine the evidence with Neanderthal experts and true believers as we go in search of a relic from the past, the last living Neanderthal. Mountains of western Mongolia and Russia's Caucasus may be home to a relic unlike any other, a living creature that's weathered the test of time. Caucasus locals call him Day, and Mongolians Almas. He's also nicknamed the Man of the Forest or Wild Man. But if he's related to Bigfoot, they're distant cousins. Bigfoot rumored to haunt the backwoods of North America, whereas the Almas is said to call Asia home. And it's not just geography that separates the two. Believers in Bigfoot say he may be related to an ancient primate species called Gigantopithecus, which lived until about 300,000 years ago. But Asia's Almas is said to be a bit different. Those who've seen him say he's less ape and more Stone Age man. In fact, many people theorize that Asia's Almas might be a relic Neanderthal. This would make him a member of a small Neanderthal population that survived for generations. And believers in the Almas claim to have evidence that may prove this relic creature still lives. Bones, hair, samples, and footprints. The science books say Neanderthals officially died out around 30,000 years ago. But what if this wasn't the case, and Neanderthals never became extinct? Is it possible that a few stragglers survived and still live in Mongolia and Russia? British creature seeker Adam Davis is hoping to find an Almas in the flesh. Davis is a court investigator by day, but he spends most of his spare time travelling the world in search of unknown cryptid creatures.
People may say cryptozoological work is a bit weird. My motivation is to bring back scientific fact because I believe that a number of these creatures are under serious threat, and I'd like to prove their existence.
He's launched previous expeditions to find Scotland's Loch Ness Monster, Sumatra's Orang Pendek, the Congo's Dragon, and Mongolia's Death Worm. So far, he hasn't had much success, but he's come back to Mongolia to take a stab at finding the Wild Man.
I believe the Almas is a real creature, but it's in serious decline. I think there's very few of them in the very high mountain ranges around western Mongolia.
In the last 2 days, Davis has flown over 6,500 kilometers from Manchester to the tiny outpost of Hovd in Mongolia. He's on a mission to find the Almas before it's too late. If a Neanderthal wanted to hide from the prying eyes of the public, Western Mongolia would certainly be a good place to go. Mongolia spans over 1.5 million square kilometers, yet it's home to a mere 2.8 million people. Stories about Stone Age survivors have been swirling around these parts for hundreds of years. Adam's guide and friend Bilgate will help him on his search. A grand adventure lies ahead. Adam and Bilgate set off into the steppes to begin their quest, determined to succeed.
Look, a lot of people will watch something like this and think, why is he bothering? Yeah? Why doesn't he go back to his day job? But I firmly believe that in some very remote places in the world, there are a number of unique creatures who are in serious environmental danger.
Out in the plains, a group of nomadic horsemen bump into the Brits on the prowl for a primitive man.
My name's Adam Davis and I'm from England and I'm really pleased to meet you guys. There's beautiful horses. I've got some pictures here, yeah? I want to show the pictures. Have you seen this creature? Has he ever seen this creature? Have you ever seen the creature?
No.
What about you guys? Have you heard any stories about the Almas?
This kind of thing has been talked about in the past.
Do you think it's a real creature?
I think it probably used to exist, but I'm not sure it does now.
Now, if you were me, and you were tracking this creature, where would you go?
The men give him some Almas hunting advice.
You should go to the mountains.
So it lives in the mountains over there?
Steered toward the hills, Adam hopes to make the find of the century.
Okay guys, thank you very much.
Adam may be off on a wild goose chase,
Thank you.
but
Good
these
luck.
wild man rumours are backed up by more than one eyewitness. Today, journalist Nina Greenyova finds peace in the forest. But 20 years ago, Nina met a mysterious stranger. In 1980, 18-year-old Nina and a group of friends traveled to Russia's Pamir Mountains in search of a living wild man.
We traveled to the area where it was thought this creature was living, the snowman, or a relic hominoid. But amongst ourselves, we called him Gosha.
One night, feeling brave, Nina went into the forest in search of the creature all by herself.
All of a sudden, to the left of me, I heard someone banging two stones together. It was believed that it was the way Gosha played around. I turned around. He was standing and staring at me. The face had typical Neanderthal features, like a prehistoric man.
Nina was awestruck.
I can't say that I felt any animosity from him, but all my feelings just atrophied.
Nina tried to draw him in closer, using what she believed would be the ultimate Almas attractor.
We were looking into each other's eyes, and then for some reason I took this squeaky toy out of my pocket. I heard of hunters trying to attract ducks, so I thought these sounds might be familiar to him, and they would attract him.
Sadly, her instincts were wrong.
I instinctively squeezed it, and that's when he turned around and headed down the hill.
Nina was left behind with nothing but a squeaky toy and a heavy heart.
So many years passed, but I still have these very strong feelings. I get so nostalgic. I dream about the Pamir Mountains. I dream about Gosha.
As every investigator knows, eyewitness testimony can be unreliable. Hard physical evidence is what's really required. And there's one place we might be able to find it. Moscow. Igor Borsev is convinced that wild men still roam the planet, and he spent over 30 years of his life trying to find Asia's almas.
I'm convinced that hairy primates exist, and I want to prove that they exist.
Igor calls himself a hominologist, meaning he studies hairy bipedal primates that are human-like, but not human. This began as a hobby, but now it's his profession. Every day he heads off to work at his very own Institute of Hominology. Here, Igor and an office staff of 3 put out books, a newsletter and a website. Igor's expeditions to find the almas all start here.
It is possible that Almaty is relic Neanderthals.
Igor's office is packed with souvenirs from past expeditions, like footprints and hair samples.
We have found them in Pamir Mountain during the expeditions. We found one nest of them, of hominoids. There are 3 samples here. It would be nice to study them, to make a DNA analysis of these samples.
Igor has quite a collection.
I have found a very nice sample of excrement.
But most importantly, he has vital evidence that might solve one of the greatest almas mysteries of all. Could Neanderthals still be walking this planet and even interbreeding with us? Strange tales about hairy creatures ran rampant across Europe and Asia. In Europe, images of wild men called woodwoes appear on medieval crests and manuscripts. Further into Asia, legends about other hairy creatures emerge. In Nepal, locals speak of a beast called the Yeti. Another creature called the Yeren is said to stalk China's Hebei province. Chinese scientists have been hot on the Yeren's trail since the 1950s, but have yet to find one in the flesh. And the Yeti and Yeren are not alone. America has Bigfoot, Australia's got the Yowie, and Sumatra has the orang pendek. All are thought to be more ape than man. But the almas is a wild man with a difference, because he's supposed to be a bit more human than ape, and more like our cousin, the Neanderthal. The first Neanderthal skeleton was unearthed in Germany's Neander Valley in 1856. It belonged to an extinct species of human, which scientists called Homo neanderthalensis, or Neanderthal. Neanderthals lived alongside modern humans for about 20,000 years before vanishing, but they got bad press right from the start. In 1908, a French paleontologist named Dr. Marcelin Boule reconstructed what he thought was a typical Neanderthal skeleton. Boule's completed model influenced the scientific community for decades. New York University's Dr. Todd Dissertel, a biological anthropologist, and Dr. Shara Bailey, a physical anthropologist, study the bones and DNA of Neanderthals. the NYU Human Origins Lab has access to the ultimate Paleolithic prize, Neanderthal DNA. Since 1997, scientists have sequenced DNA from bones found at Neanderthal dig sites around Europe. Todd and Shara now know Neanderthals inside and out. One of the things they teach their students is how Boole's model was fundamentally flawed.
Boole recreated the Neanderthal as sort of this very hairy, ape-like, dim-witted, stooped-over, not even human, just ape man. And I think that sort of stuck with Neanderthals for quite a while.
I don't think he did it intentionally. I think he was a product of his times and a product of the fact that the skeleton that he based his reconstruction on was an old man and maybe wasn't representative of all Neanderthals.
Boole had got it wrong. The skeleton he used wasn't a healthy specimen, but an old Neanderthal man ridden with arthritis. Eventually, the model was declared to be inaccurate, but the damage had already been done. And even today, the term Neanderthal is not a term of endearment.
Well, it's certainly not a compliment, right? To be called a Neanderthal. You think stupid, you think brutish, you think mean, right? So this is our image of a Neanderthal.
Over the last 150 years, scientists have been able to piece together a better picture of Neanderthals and what they really might have been like. They were stocky, strong, and well adapted to cold weather.
Neanderthals were a very interesting group of humans that lived in Europe all the way to sort of almost to Central Asia during the height of the Ice Ages. They lived in Europe from approximately 200,000 years ago to about 30,000 years ago.
During that time, Neanderthals lived in small bands, used fire and made stone tools. They led a rugged existence, but they may have had a softer side. Evidence shows that they cared for each other and for their dead. Many Neanderthals suffered broken bones during their lives, but X-rays show something extraordinary. Fractures that could only have healed if the victim was cared for during recovery. This means that Neanderthals may have helped each other during times of sickness or injury. And there's something else. At Iraq's Sanidar cave, anthropologists found skeletons that seem to have been deliberately placed, indicating that Neanderthals might have ritually buried their dead. Bits of pollen were also found in the soil around the bones, telling us that these bodies may have been covered by flowers. There's definitely a lot more to Neanderthals than we once thought. But could some of them have been smart enough to survive into the present age? In Mongolia, stories about the Almas echo from the past and ripple into the present. But finding evidence is another matter. For centuries, the history of Mongolia's traditions and folklore were preserved in the records of Buddhist monasteries. And these records give us a glimpse into a world where the Almas was not fiction, but fact. In 1937, a Mongolian scientist reported that Buddhist monks were using an Almas skin in sacred rituals. And an ancient Buddhist medical text recommended consuming Almas meat to cure mental disease and jaundice. The problem now is that much of this history has been destroyed forever. Communism swept across Mongolia in 1921, cutting it off from the world. Stalin's brutal purges further tormented the country, and hit the monasteries especially hard. Thousands of temples were burned to the ground, and over 10,000 monks were executed. Buddhism survived among this resilient people, but many of the monasteries did not. Today, Throughout Mongolia, the faithful worship regularly, in this case at a former pool hall. And Adam's also here, in search of an alma's skin and some advice.
Have you got an alma's skin here?
He said no.
He said no. If you were going to look for the almas in Mongolia, where would you go?
Well, let's see. I think you should go into the remote, untouched places.
Do you know any stories about the almas?
My relative saw it and said it was hairy and very big.
Obviously there's been a lot of talk about an alma's skin, but I'd love to have that. But I think it was unrealistic to expect to just walk in here and find it hanging on the wall, you know. But you've got to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get.
Adam may not have located an alma's skin, but he has found the next best thing, a local eyewitness. Adam and Bilge set out to find the monk's relative, an elder named Ulzi. Ulzi is a well-respected hunter and herder who swears he's crossed paths with an almas. He takes Adam and Bilge back to the scene of his sighting. Ulzi was driving through the remote area when suddenly he spotted a strange hairy creature on the side of the road. It ran in front of the car, disappeared into the rocks, leaving only footprints behind. Adam is struck by what appears to be the perfect alma's habitat.
Wow, this is amazing. That is a really good cave, actually. Yeah. This environment has shelter in the caves, water, food in the marmot, and the small animals that live around here. So it's perfect alma's territory, and if they do exist, this is exactly where they'd live.
Ulzi takes the man to the exact spot where he claims he saw the almas.
Was it standing like an animal or standing like a man?
He was standing just like a person, just like a human in standing position. While he was standing like 2 to 3 seconds, he lowered like this, very fast, and disappeared.
Adam starts to cross-examine Ulzi.
Okay. A little bit lower, yeah? So, like this, yeah? Watch this. So, it ran more like an animal, yeah? Did the almas leave any evidence behind him?
Yes, footprints.
Okay, those long toes in.
Adam asks Ulzi to put pen to paper and draw what he saw. Ulzi sketches out the footprints. Then he creates a picture of the almas.
Without a doubt, it looked like a human, with hair, and standing on 2 legs.
But something doesn't look quite right. Ulzi's almas appears to be wearing a dress, and its footprint only has 4 toes, which would make it quite an oddity in the primate world. The questionable drawings bring out the interrogator in Adam.
Yeah, but you told me earlier it had dark hair. You were some distance away. Plenty of the ibex and goats have dark hair, don't they? Why couldn't it be one of those?
I am a hunter. I have experience. I can differentiate between animals and humans.
Are you telling me the truth, yes or no?
Yes, it is a fact. It is real.
Thank you.
The interrogation was a success, and is rewarded with some snuff.
Here's a bit of snuff. By way of compensation.
Sniffing snuff is a Mongolian
I
tradition.
think the interview that Ulzi did with me was really believable. I do this for a living, cross-examination, and I'm looking during my job to see traits that people lie with. Normally when people lie, they raise their pitch and tone, wave their arms around, and he did none of that. The single thing in that interview is that he's been a hunter all his life, and he was quite clear that the creature stood with an upright back like a man. Could it be Neanderthal man? Well, let's see if we can get some more evidence and try and find out.
Adam and his team are back on the trail of the elusive Mongolian Almas. Meanwhile, back at the Institute of Hominology, Igor's been guarding the best piece of physical evidence that could prove the existence of the Almas. They're not your everyday skulls.
This may be Zana. This is Kut, son of Zana.
According to Igor, Zana may be a relic Neanderthal, and Quit may be her half-human son. These skulls have an incredible story. They both may be related to Neanderthals and to each other. One of the skulls is rumored to belong to a woman named Zana. Her story is one of the most famous and hotly debated Almas cases on record. According to local legends and cryptozoological reports, Zana may have been an Almas that lived during the mid-19th century. Igor relates the story. In southern Russia in 1850, hunters stumbled upon something weird in the forest. A strange, hairy, wild woman. They threw a net over her and dragged her back to the village of Tina, where locals gave her a welcome befitting any wild woman of the day. They tossed her into a cage. According to local law, Zana was less than thrilled by the trappings of village life. Villagers tried to dress her, but she was an unwilling model. They made her cooked meals, but Zana refused them, preferring raw food instead. Over time, locals tried to teach her simple tasks, but Zana was only able to master the most basic skills. Eventually, it's rumored that Zana found some unscrupulous admirers in town and had several children. Quit was one of his sons. Igor was convinced that Zana may be the real deal, a relic Neanderthal. And Quit may therefore be a hybrid, a cross between a Neanderthal and a human.
This may be Zana's skull, but maybe not. I don't know. It's necessary to analyze. If Zana was a Neanderthal woman, that means Neanderthals live until now.
The way to find out is DNA testing. DNA can tell us if Zana and Quit are Neanderthal mother and hybrid son, or if both skulls are simply Homo sapiens, and not relics from the past at all. New York University's Human Origins Lab will solve the mystery. Here, Dr. Todd Disatel will compare DNA from Quit and Zana to Neanderthal DNA. And Dr. Shara Bailey will closely examine the two skulls to reveal details DNA cannot. Igor is reluctant to send his fragile skulls on a journey overseas, but he's come up with an alternative plan to get Todd and Shara the information they need. Igor heads to the doctor's office. First up, they do a CT scan, which will give Shara 360-degree images of both skulls. They then turn dentist. DNA is not just found in bones and blood, but also in teeth. The scientists extract some samples for Todd. Igor then packs up the scans, teeth and other samples and ships them out. Will they be enough for Todd and Shara to solve the mystery of the skulls? and put Igor's questions to bed once and for all. Meanwhile, back in Mongolia, sunrise warms a hidden valley filled with nomadic families. Alma's hunter Adam Davis goes house to house in search of clues. A foreigner in these remote parts is about as rare as the Almas itself.
How would he feel, yeah, if one of these was walking past his gate?
I would be surprised. Adam is offered a bowl of warm milky tea at every house he enters.
You know, there's only so many dairy products I can eat. Hi. My name's Adam, and I'm from England. Have some English snuff.
Once again, a bit of ceremonial snuff is passed around, and it seems to get people talking.
Why doesn't he believe it's a real animal?
Since I haven't seen it, I don't believe in it.
Do you think the Almas is a dangerous creature?
They're not dangerous.
Why?
Well, like any animal trying to survive, it's afraid of humans.
Finally, Adam knocks on the right door. An elder nomad knows what he's looking for and where to find it.
People say that an Almas lives in a cave nearby.
Does he know where the cave is?
Everybody around here knows the location of the cave.
Everyone knows.
This is the break Adam's been waiting for. Finally, he can put his plan into action.
So what I'm going to do is, first of all, see if I can find the cave. And if I can find it, I'm going to stake it out. I'm going to see if I can photograph it and bring back some evidence of its existence with a bit of luck.
It's a rough drive, but hopefully it will be worth it. The reputed Almas cave is straight ahead. Will there be a living Neanderthal lurking inside? Igor's package filled with teeth, CT scans and hair samples arrives at NYU's lab. Todd's team quickly sets to work, extracting DNA from the hair and teeth.
DNA is actually often very well preserved in teeth. I mean, teeth are the very hardest part of the body, so if you can get inside a tooth, you're very likely to be able to retrieve the DNA that was initially present during the growth of that tooth.
Meanwhile, Shara examines Quit and Zana's CT scans. Is it really possible that Zana could have been part of a relic Neanderthal population that survived up until the 1800s? And could Quit really have been a hybrid cross between Neanderthal and human being? If either of the skulls reveal Neanderthal DNA, Igor's made a remarkable discovery. The NYU team wants to uncover the truth, but they're skeptical about Quit and Zana's Neanderthal origins. Most scientists agree that Neanderthals vanished completely around 30,000 years ago, although exactly how they disappeared is open to debate and very controversial. Many Neanderthal bones have been found covered with slash marks, and some people say these markings are signs of cannibalism. Perhaps by consuming infected tissue, they contracted a deadly disease.
There are Neanderthal specimens that look like they were cooked, perhaps eaten. Is that why they went extinct? I doubt it.
Other people say that competition over food and territory may have sparked a war between modern humans and Neanderthals. And yet another theory proposes that drastic changes in environment caused Neanderthal populations to crash.
I think the best hypothesis we have going for us right now for the extinction of Neanderthals is the marked climatic changes we see around 30,000 years ago, combined with competition with incoming modern humans.
I think basically the Neanderthals disappeared because the new group of modern people coming in, probably with a slightly more sophisticated culture, outcompeted them.
For decades, some scientists have speculated that modern humans caused Neanderthal extinction by breeding with them. In the scientific community, the issue of Neanderthal and human interbreeding is a hot one.
Humans are just not that discriminating. I don't think that, I mean, if they met, they, certainly would have interbred. But that doesn't mean that they were the same species.
Neanderthals and humans overlapped in time for actually many thousands of years in different regions of the Middle East and Europe. Did Neanderthals and modern humans have sex? Almost certainly. I mean, that just seems extremely likely. Did they produce offspring? Maybe, probably not. Did they produce fertile, viable hybrid offspring that then had offspring themselves? I think not.
Although the scientists are skeptical, Adam Davis is not. He continues to charge onwards and upwards.
Bilge, after we get round this ridge, we're going to have to be really careful, because if it smells us, it's going to run away.
The rumoured Alma's cave lies at the top of this ridge.
More like a mountain goat than an Alma's. What I'm doing now is approaching the cave of the Almas. It's really important when you approach the lair of an animal that it doesn't smell you and you don't spook it. So I'll be as quiet as I can.
Adam and Bilge enter the chasm. This cave might just be home to Adam's holy grail.
There are plenty of places in here an Almas could hide. Whole family could live here, couldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, look down there, you've got that massive hole, goodness knows where that goes to. Yeah, they could be living up in any of those little caves up there. Yeah. But the thing is, right now, they've definitely heard us approach, so they're not going to come out right now. Okay. What we need to do is draw them out, and the best way to do that is by using the raw meat and the motion cameras.
Adam sets his plan in motion.
You see that eye-shaped ridge there? I think that will provide enough elevation that we can, if we go down low for the stakeout, we'll actually not be able to be viewed from the cave, okay. And from there we'll be able to observe anything coming in and out of the cave.
Next, Adam and Bilge set up a remote camera trap, hoping to catch an Almas in action.
Set it up over here, yeah? All the people we spoke to said that the Almas was about the height of a man. Yeah. So this is a motion detector. If you just give me that thing there, upon which we'll stop and start the camera.
The camera's on and ready to go, but Adam's work isn't finished. He's counting on the fact that the Almas isn't a vegetarian.
Okay, I'm putting out raw meat rather than carrots, because the locals told me that that's what the Almas likes to eat, so hopefully he'll be hungry, and from my observational post down there I'll be able to see him and take a photograph maybe. Fingers crossed.
As night falls, part 2 of Adam's plan is put into effect. The stakeout. After a few hours, an Almas has yet to appear, but the night is still young. The team settles in for a serious night of Almas surveillance.
For a bit of whiskey? Yeah. You never say no. Yeah, they never say no.
It's that
good stuff.
As the stakeout drags on, Adam and Bilge begin to ponder some of life's important questions.
mean? It's only the truth. It's only the truth. What do you think of vegetarians, Vilgo?
Gracias.
If an homeless ran across, you'd be fine. Yeah, you'd think, right, my job is done. But if you saw a lettuce blowing across the plain, I think you'd tremble in fear.
As dawn approaches, Adam and Bilgay's enthusiasm has somewhat waned. Adam continues to keep watch, but Bilgay seems to have made other plans. New York City is the home of bright lights and big dreams. Eagles travelled all the way here to get the results from the New York University team face to face and see if his dreams have come true. Are Zana and Quit's alleged Neanderthal roots fact or fiction? Meanwhile, in Mongolia, Adam and Bilgay have come to the end of an uneventful night. Their only hope now lies with the motion camera.
I think it's fair to say the stakeout was a bit of a flop. So what we're going to do now is go up to the cave and see if we've got anything on the infrared. Not too optimistic though, I didn't see much movement.
Adam and Bilgay eagerly run through the footage, but it's not quite what they'd expected.
Hey look, Bilgay, there is a vegetarian in Mongolia. That bird hasn't even touched the meat. The footage is nowhere near what I call inspiring. It's not disappointing because I have a lovely bird, a lovely rare Mongolian bird, clucking through the cave after a whole night on a stakeout. Ooh, I'm so impressed. And, you know, the thing about it is I left out a lovely big chunk of meat for the almas. That was my dinner, that was.
They didn't find an almas in the cave after all. But Adam doesn't plan to give up on his search. One cave may be down, but there are plenty more to go. Back at Todd and Shara's New York University lab, the results are finally in. Shara's examined the CT scans and come to a few conclusions about Quit and Zana based on the shape of their skulls.
When we take a look at this profile of Quit, it's almost more modern than this modern human here on the right. So there's absolutely no evidence of any kind of similarity between Neanderthals here on the left and Quit. With Zana, the hypothesis is that she's some kind of relic Neanderthal, which means that she should be more like this Neanderthal here on the left than she is like this modern human on the right. But when you look at it, what's really cool about this, when you look at it, she's almost identical to this modern human here. I mean, take a look at the profile here in the back of the skull, especially this area right here, where it curves in. There's no evidence from this profile, this CT scan, that Zana is a relic Neanderthal.
But although Zana's skull may be human, there is something strange about her jaw.
She's an unusual looking gal, this jutting out here that looks kind of ape-like.
What could have caused Zana to act and look different from others? In the 19th century, many villages in the area Zana hailed from were hard hit by a syndrome called cretinism. It can be caused by a lack of iodine in one's diet, or by a hormonal imbalance. The syndrome can stunt physical and mental development, although according to local law, Zana, while slow, was big. Another possible answer is hirsutism, a genetic disorder that causes excessive hair growth. Bearded circus ladies often suffered from this condition. However, hirsutism doesn't usually cover an entire person's body with hair. But another genetic condition called hypertrichosis does. And one variation of this genetic condition can cause rampant hair growth and disfigure the jaw and teeth. People afflicted with this syndrome in the 19th century were often called wolfmen, werewolves, or ape men. Was Zana not in fact a wild woman, but simply afflicted by one of these genetic disorders? Based on the skull alone, Shara can only speculate.
My working hypothesis is that she probably had some kind of syndrome that left her with rather odd facial features and a lowered mental capacity.
Rather than a wild woman from the mountains, she may in fact have been suffering from a medical condition that led her fellows to first ostracize her and then imprison and mistreat her. But Todd's DNA results will reveal the ultimate truth about Quit and Zana and their possible Neanderthal roots.
We just got the results right off our DNA sequencer, so I can show you what we've found.
I'm happy that it happened.
It's time to break the news to Igor.
The hair samples were basically completely negative, but all three teeth that we worked with yielded good DNA evidence. The results show that the DNA that we got out of Zana and Quit share the same condition that modern humans have. To me, this is a pretty unequivocal result, suggesting that Zana and Quit are indeed modern humans, not Neanderthals, not relic Neanderthals, not even hybrids, but absolutely, completely modern human specimens.
But there is good news for Igor.
What is interesting, though, is they have the very same DNA type, so Zana could indeed be Quit's mother.
Next, it's Shara's turn.
I found that Zana's skull was unusual looking. She had, like you said, she had really protruding, or marked prognathism, protruding lower part of the face. She also had rather large orbits. But overall, I didn't see anything in particular that made me think that she, looked Neanderthal-like.
We're waiting for 30 years to be analyzed. Now you made this analysis. Thank you very much.
The case is closed, but the day is over.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Todd and Shara support efforts by people such as Igor and Adam, but at the end of the day, they're scientists. However, Igor and other believers refuse to give up hope, and are convinced the Almas is still out there.
Because I know the places where this creature visited, I should go to them with open heart and with a good, friendly attitude to them. And they will understand. They should understand.
We want to meet them, and they want to meet us. This meeting will take place sometime very soon. If you believe in something, it will happen.
I think it's very important for the Almas to be found because it's in a very remote area of Mongolia. If it's not found soon, it could die out. And if it dies out, we could have lost something that's a very important part of our own heritage.
But Todd and Shara aren't going to be easily swayed.
If Neanderthals were still alive, we would find skeletal evidence of it. A lot.
I don't think people are going to find a walking, living, breathing Neanderthal. More likely, we'll find something else of equal importance that would be useful to science.